Welcome everybody. I'll just share, go through the process of sharing a video, a PowerPoint with you, and then we'll come back to you and you can introduce yourself to the group online. Okay, so let me just find my, can everyone see the PowerPoint presentation? Have I got that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's all good. Okay. Well, I will go to full view. Okay. All right. Welcome everybody. Those I think I probably would have taught most of you. I think for Leading for High Performance. So again, congratulations for taking the option of coming onto the award offering. I hope you'll find it you know, obviously interesting, a bit stimulating, and I hope it's something that you can really go back and help your workplace with a few, you know, questions to help them through. So we'll just have a little check-in. Now, the problem sometimes with virtual classrooms, there's a tendency to lurk, you know, for whatever reason you're having a low energy day, you don't really feel like turning the camera on. But if you can, even if you're coming in audio, just a bit of an introduction to the group. We're 8 in the award module, which is good. It's a good group to get to know each other. So just a little bit of a check-in, who you are, and why you've engaged on the Leading for High Performance award extension. So just while I do that, I'll stop sharing and I'll get the camera up so I can see my participants. So we've got Karen, actually. Karen's our learning designer. We might, you might want to see who she is as well. Karen, did you want to turn your camera on so we can see who you are and you can introduce yourself to the group? Karen, I know she's there. I can see her. We might come back. Ainsley, so you haven't got your camera on. You've got a microphone. Did you want to have a try at turning your camera? Hi, there she is. Hi, Ainsley. Did you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, so I'm Ainsley White. I work at the Building and Construction Commission as an IT planning manager. So throughout our organisation, we're running our own Emerging Leaders program. So
okay.
We've done the workshops with you, and now I've just decided to do the award extension because I just think it's interesting and will be helpful in my leadership journey.
Absolutely. So you've got aspirations to the grad certificate, Ainsley?
Yes.
Yeah, fantastic. All right. Good. Kelly, how about you? Do you want to tell us your story?
I'm Kelly O'Brien. I'm from Epic and I'm based in Bundaberg. I'm a national coordinator up here. This is my last award.
You're nearly there.
For the grad cert.
Fantastic. So having done Leading for High Performance and you're done.
Sorry?
So just this award module and you finished your grad certificate?
Yes.
Fantastic. Good stuff. Thanks, Kelly. Had a lovely engagement with Epic Assist. Wonderful non-profit organisation. Loved all the participants there. And most of them have been doing the grad cert, which is fabulous. Yeah. Now I have Mr. King. I'm sorry, I've only got your initials and I've temporarily forgotten your Christian name. So if you can help me out, that'd be great.
No problem. Yeah, Ben.
Yeah. Oh, Dan. Yeah.
Ben.
Tell us your story. Oh, Ben. Sorry, Ben.
Yes.
Yeah.
No worries.
Yeah.
So I work for Transport and Main Roads.
Yep. DTMR, great customers. Yeah.
Yep. DTMR. So I was nominated for the ELP active learning modules a little while ago, and unexpectedly quite enjoyed them. So I continued on to do the award units, and so this is my second last award unit for my grad cert.
Oh, congratulations! You're very nearly there. Have you done all the active learning ones, or are you?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yep.
So do the award extensions.
Yep.
Fantastic. Yes. So I remember your group. Yeah, that was a great experience.
Mm-hmm.
Good. Where are you based, Ben? Are you here in Brisbane?
Yes, Brisbane.
Yeah. Okay. Excellent. Kelly, we've done Ainsley. Marcus, do you want to tell us your story? Marcus hasn't got his video on. We're assuming he's got his audio on, maybe not. Is Marcus from DTMR as well, Ben? Do you know?
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
No, Marcus is with us.
Ah, okay. There you go. He's online. Marcus, I can see you in my participant list. Anytime you want to pop up, that'd be great. Kristen.
Hi, so I'm Kristen, I'm from QBCC, and similar to Ainsley, we've been through a work-based program which is pushing us through a leadership development course over 18 months, and we've done a couple of the active learning modules, and this is our first award extension unit.
Oh, okay. Well done, the first experience of doing it. So as you can see, I mean, the real virtue of the way that we run the award extension is that you don't have to travel. So you can do all the learning from where you happen to be, whether that's Bundaberg or Brisbane or, you know, any of the other number of places around Australia that you could be. So that's the mode that we run them. I have said I have a little narrated PowerPoint for getting started. You'll see from that I really do encourage you to come to the virtual classrooms. While they are being recorded and they will be available, it's actually the discipline of coming to them, you know, reading materials, maybe having some questions, listening to me answer questions from other people. I think that really makes for a successful online learning experience. It's the discipline and structure of that. So has that been your experience, Ben, with online learning? How have you approached the whole discipline of online learning?
Yeah, it took a little bit of getting used to. With the virtual classrooms in the past, I've tried to make as many as I could. If not, yeah, I've watched the recording. So like with this class, I've looked at the virtual classrooms. I won't be able to make the second one. I'll be away on holidays, but yeah, for the first.
We won't ask you to come in on your holidays. That's a little rough.
Yeah.
Good eye. Has anyone else got any observations or tips for other people about successful, you know, completion of online learning and the award component? Anything that you'd like to share? Susan will have a scratch.
I think the Zoom sessions are really helpful because we get the one-on-one help from you guys.
Yeah, that's right.
When you're able to, I've gotten a lot out of Zoom sessions personally.
That's good. And the Zoom session obviously isn't the only opportunity for you to engage with me. So as you go through the weeks of the award extension, if you have any questions, feel free to email me and I'll do my best to get back to you in a timely way. Yeah, but I don't know about you, but the year has just gone off with a bang. You know, you feel like you've been shot through out of a cannon, you know. All right. Have I missed anybody out in the introductions? I have my participant list here, but I may, you know, sometimes I do get that wrong. No. Okay. I'm going to step through a few ideas. Some of them just a tiny bit of a repeat from the getting started narrated PowerPoint that's on your Engage site, and to talk to you obviously about the assessment. I know you'd be keen to know about that, and just generally how to have a successful experience in leading for high performance. All right, so I'll just go back to my sharing my PowerPoint presentation. Okay, and I'll go back to slideshow. So yeah, we've had a little bit of sharing. It's good to see all your faces in different offerings of leading for high performance. You'll see a bit of a name change too. Actually, when you probably did the active learning module, performance leadership was the title. We've switched to leading for high performance for 2019 as being a little bit more descriptive of our intent for the module. So when you have a theme entitled performance leadership, it does connote, you know, having performance conversations with people and perhaps managing poor performance, which is certainly part of the round of leading for high performance. It's one component, but there's kind of a larger view that we would like to take into account when we approach this subject. So that's the reason for the change of title. I'm hoping you'll find that a reasonable approach. Now, this is a little bit about the why. Again, now on your narrated PowerPoint, we looked at the why. So why do organisations, you know, invest in some of the activities that surround leading for high performance? Now this slide, I had a little bit of the text left off. So this is the text that was left off. So Ben Horowitz, he wrote what I think is one of the really very, very practical guides to building a high performance organization. And it's called The Hard Thing About Hard Things, Building a Business When There Are No Easy Answers. Now, it's very much oriented to kind of that Silicon Valley culture. And we have to realize that our cultures in our organizations may well be different. But even so, I think he had some really pertinent things to say about the organization and how to lead for high performance. And he said that, you know, you might argue that no matter how well a company, how well managed a company is, it will fail without product market fit, right? So you can grind your gears. He said, doing all the aspects of a high performance organization. You can put in coaching, you can put in, you know, performance focus. You can do all the coaching aspects of leading high performance, all the elements, all the high performance practices. But if you're just missing your market, obviously those activities are not going to come to anything. He says, you might ask you further that even horribly managed companies that achieve a massive product market fit succeed just fine. And he said both those things are true, that you'd be right on both counts. So we can think of some organizations, you know, some of the recent startups, you know, Uber, for example. We've had some commentary about that organization certainly succeeding in the market, although it's not profitable yet. However, some things about what we're hearing about their organization would certainly not meet the criteria of high performance, but they're doing fine in the market, you know. So he said, how do we kind of reconcile those ideas? I mean, why worry about high performance? So Ben Horowitz says that we actually invest in the high performance practices that give us a high performance organization, not for when things are going well, but when things are bad. Yeah. So being a company doesn't matter when things go well, but it can be the difference between life and death when things go wrong. So, for example, if you've been driving your people into the dust and everyone's tired and disengaged, then we have, you know, a massive change that comes on board, and people just won't be up for the fight, you know, because you haven't invested in those aspects of high performance. How do you, you know, get engagement of your people? And he says it's a difference between life and death when things go wrong. Point two, things always go wrong. You can expect that. And sometimes in, you know, the public sector and not-for-profit, the public purpose sector, we have, you know, periods of, you know, constraint, financial constraint, periods of hardship, you know, and it's for those kind of periods that we need to build the capability of our organisation, trying to do more with less, for example, those kind of mantras. And the third point I think is really worth reflecting on too. Being a good company is an end in itself. So that building an organisation that people want to come to work in the morning and feeling that they've made a valuable contribution, that in itself, that is an end in itself, says Ben Horowitz. I would tend to agree. What are your thoughts about those kind of points about investing in high performance organisation? Why do you think, you know, your company might invest in some of those aspects of work practices? Why would we do that? Any thoughts? I know it's hard in a small group. You feel like you're put on the spot, but I'm open to any kind of thought, any commentary. Anyone like to give it a go?
I'm actually struggling to think whether or not we are investing in that kind of way. I don't think that's completely obvious for what I've seen.
Well, that's something that you might build into your second assignment, Ben, about when we do a little bit of a case study of our organisation, thinking, are these some of the high performance work practices, are they manifest in your organisation? To what extent? Does it matter? You know, that's the kind of thing that you might want to have a look at in assignment 2. Yeah. So we try to make the rhetoric reality, I suppose, in our second assignment. Yeah. So you might say, for example, well, we're certainly we're investing in performance conversations. Most organisations are doing that. I'll be surprised if yours wasn't. You know, having some sort of system of performance conversations, you know, scheduling them, following up on them, that kind of thing.
Yep. It's there on paper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And then it's interesting to look at and reflect on why doesn't the I suppose the rhetoric match up to the reality. So if we're saying that managers must have performance conversations with their staff, why is compliance so low? You know, what is behind that? That might be something that you might think about for assignment 2, for example.
Yep.
Okay. So here are the themes that we're going to be looking at. I'll just make sure I'm just looking at so that we keep to time. So you'll see in the themes on your Engage site, why high performance organisation, and you'll see that in every topic, and I've done a narrated PowerPoint presentation for each of these, that you'll see that at each point you're invited to take a critical view. So I'm certainly not putting ideas out there and saying this is the truth, these are the best practices in each of these topics. What I'm trying to do is put out, you know, what we know at the moment, what's kind of accepted, some ideas that are accepted both in the literature and in our organisational lived experiences, and just inviting you to step back and ask a few critical questions. In each of the narrated PowerPoint presentations, I've included a few critical questions. They might guide you, both for assignment 1 and assignment 2, about things to think about when you approach your assignment. Our second topic is definitions. How do you define a high performance organisation? And you will see that in, I think it's topic 2, there are a range of definitions about what is a high performance organisation. I would invite you in your first assignment to think about what would be a definition of a high performance organisation that might represent an aspiration that would fit in your context. So the one that I have included from De Waal, it certainly says a high performance organisation is one that has a strong financial return, for example. And that's not probably going to work in most of the public purpose contexts that you guys are in. So using the material there, you might want to think about what's a definition of a high performance organisation that would work for my organisation. Our third topic is frameworks. There are, I think I've presented 4 frameworks of a high performance organisation that are probably some of the most accepted. And your task in the first assignment is really to say, are these kind of frameworks fit for purpose, or are they a little bit dated, even since they've been developed? The 21st century, we've seen quite a lot of change already. Are these kind of frameworks still valid? Are they still relevant? Are they still contemporary? Are they still fit for purpose? And our fourth topic, leadership and the high performance organisation. So what does the literature say about the role and function of a leader in driving a high performance organisation? What is their impact? Do their practices make a difference? And again, you're invited to take a bit of a critical view about that. I mean, the popular rhetoric is that leaders are everything, you know, that the leadership rhetoric is very, you know, very gung-ho, particularly the American literature on this, and CEOs are paid squillions of dollars, you know, because they make such an impact on the performance of an organisation. And you are invited to look at the balance, you know, of thought and argument and evidence for that. And our final topic will very much feed into your assignment 2, high performance work practices. So it's really, and I've got in brackets culture. So in the literature, this is also sometimes called high performance work culture. So the kind of practices that are accepted as, you know, if you invest in these kind of practices, you will build the capacity of your organisation, you build the health, the vitality, the sustainability of your organisation. So we'll have a look at a few of those. Now, please stop me at any time. Is everyone good so far?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, good.
Mm-hmm.
Apologise for my noisy dogs from the posting team.
Oh, it's great fun, isn't it? There's so many great, you know, virtual classroom stories about things that happen. Yeah. the kids are normally the funniest ones when you can't avoid having the kids with you. Okay. So, and this is just, again, a little bit of repeat of some material that I went through in the narrated, the getting started PowerPoint, but this is where we talk about how to approach the unit successfully. When in your active learning module, when I was with you face to face, that we learn by doing, and this unit will be the same. You take some of the concepts and you apply them in your own context, and that's the way real learning happens. You look at your own unique challenges. So Ben, for example, was saying, oh, I struggle to see how any of these, how my organisation has any intent at all about being a high performance organisation. Well, that's an interesting observation, an interesting proposition, and that you go forth, particularly in the second assignment, and say, well, to what extent are we doing these kind of practices? To what extent are we doing these kind of practices? Do I see some evidence that there's intent in the senior leadership group to build the capability of the organisation, and if so, why? You know, so yeah, it's really trying to be quite applied in what we're learning. Same as the active learning module, and sharing and developing ideas with others, and that can be done through attending the virtual classroom. And I really believe that is the key to successful online learning. I think if you're just out there in learnerland trying to do the assignment, you may well be successful. You know, you may well produce 2 stellar assignments without that. But you know, we're not just here to do assignments. We actually are here to learn and extend. You know, these challenging times, the more that we can develop our understandings of a whole range of organisational concepts, the better leaders we'll be, I believe. In the Engage site, there's a number of readings there. I've intentionally not gone overboard with that. I've put out a few readings that I think will really help you frame your understanding. There's a couple of chunky sort of academic-y articles, particularly the Dewal work there. I have suggested Good to Great, and I've put in a summary, Jim Collins' Good to Great. If you can find the whole book, it's not hard to find. It may well even be in your workplace somewhere, such as its popularity. Obviously, we don't need you to read the whole book, but it is a suggestion. But try to have a look at most of the material that's been suggested. I have tried to curate it that it's a manageable amount, and we will be adding to them as the weeks progress. So, but I'd really encourage you to, read as widely as possible. Really for your own benefit. And how you do that, what's the best rhythm for you, that's really an individual thing. I always find the morning, getting up early in the morning if I'm trying to do these kind of things, but I don't have kids, so there you go. I'd really suggest starting the first assignment early. I know all the facilitators say that. That's the opportunity for your ideas to grow and develop. It's the opportunity to share a draft, with a colleague, someone at work, for example, for them to check your writing. Improving our writing is also part of the experience. And enjoy the experience. So I hope we're not approaching it as a grind that we just have to get through in order to get our certification. I hope that there's some real, implicit learning and joy in the whole experience. Yeah. So any questions about that? How we're doing the units? Most of you sound like you're well versed in the whole award extension thing. Some a bit new, so that's good. All good? Okay. All good. All right. Mindful of the time. So now this again is on your getting started slideshow. So we're at 13 February. The Engage site opened on Monday. So you can go in, have a look at the assignments, have a look at the CRAs, when the virtual classrooms are, make sure that they're in your diary. Notice when you've got a clash with being on holiday, for example. That's fine. What the learning materials are, the range of readings, and think about how you're going to plan your time now to complete those assignments. So most of you sound like you've got a bit of a strategy around that already. So I'll just say that for people who are new, really. Now, in the time before the first assignment, there's 4 topics. They've each got a narrated PowerPoint. I tried to keep to 10 minutes, but they're a little bit, sometimes they're a little bit longer than that, but not much. I would really suggest you go in and have a listen. It really takes you through the course content step by step. And then there all the readings that are mentioned in those PowerPoint slides you'll find in your Engage site pretty much. If you see, you know, other materials that you think your group would find quite interesting on some of the topics presented, please feel free to send them through and we'll put them up on the site as well. So it can be a two-way street with materials. If there's something that your organisation uses and you'd like to share it with the group, you know, feel free, send it through. That would be great. Do all the readings on the Engage site. There's a couple of videos as well. So certainly have a go at those. Read widely from the material that's been prepared for you on the Engage site, but also outside of it. So you're all QUT students, so you have access to the library physically and online, obviously. So explore a little more when you're doing your lit review or you're doing your case study. Yeah, make this your opportunity to explore how that goes. Certainly between now and 11 March, there'll be 2 classrooms. There's virtual classroom 1. There'll be a second virtual classroom about a week before the assignment's due, so that you can ask me questions, you know, get any help that you need. And obviously you're going to draft assignment 1 and you're going to get feedback, hopefully, from peers and colleagues. And you're going to submit the assignment, the first assignment, on 11 March. It's about a month away. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's 1,500 words. Those of you who are experienced will now know that it's going to be hard to do. 1,500 words is actually quite short. So you have to be pretty pithy and succinct in your 1,500 words. And then between assignment 1 and assignment 2, I will have another topic that will help you undertake your case study. I'll put another PowerPoint up on the slide and think about, you know, a good way to approach your case study, a little bit more about high performance work practices, things to think about. You will have your feedback from assignment 1, so have a look at it, maybe look perhaps where you can look to improve for assignment 2. There'll be more readings on the Engage site for you to look at. There'll be a 3rd virtual classroom just a week before your assignment 2. Prepare a draft of assignment 2 and get a bit of feedback on it from your workplace, for example, or from a colleague or a friend. And then prepare a final draft of assignment 2. That's meant to be, not assignment 1. And then you submit your assignment 2. All right. So that's pretty like a journey through the module. Has anyone got any questions at this point? Pretty straightforward. Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. So these are the assignments. You may have already seen them on the Engage site. So the first one is 1,500 words and the second one is 2,500 words. The first one, it's called a lit review, a literature review. It's really, I suppose, in a way, more of an analytical essay. So the first one is really asking you for your response to a question, really. And the question is, do these high performance models, theories of learning, arguments, do they remain effective in the context of the changing 21st century? And with particular reference to socially and culturally diverse organisations. So really, you're going to write a 1,500 word response to that question. Do everything that you've read so far, are they still, all these ideas and frameworks, are they still relevant for the context that you find yourself in, or the context of the 21st century? Or are they old and outdated? Have they had their time? So that's really the question that you're invited to answer in 1,500 words. So it's a little bit like taking the affirmative or the negative side of a debate. So if I framed it as a debate question, it might be that the key arguments, models and theories of leadership high performance presented in GSZ614 remain effective in the context of the changing 21st century. All right, so you're going to take the affirmative case. Or alternatively, you could take the negative case, in which case the proposition would be the key arguments, models and theories of leading to high performance presented in GSZ614 do not remain effective in the context of the changing 21st century. And you're going to put forth your argument for the negative. Generally, though, what you're doing is often finding, yeah, this is relevant, this is not relevant. You know, you're sort of weighing up the balance of the argument. You're sort of taking both sides in a way, and then coming to a conclusion. So you may well say that, you know, coaching, for example, remains an effective high performance practice. But, you know, having regular performance reviews has outlived its usefulness, for example. Yeah, something similar. Or you might take a whole framework, like the Baldrige framework, and say, you know, these kinds of ways of in a wholesale way, auditing an organisation for its effectiveness, you know, don't remain effective in the 21st century because things just move too fast. Or
which framework was that?
Oh, that was, one of the 4 frameworks that I've put up in high performance organisational frameworks. I put up 4. One of them is the Baldrige framework. So this is a framework that's quite well known, but, you know, mostly in America, it has to be said. It's like a very comprehensive framework. And then if your organisation, you know, requests it, this Baldrige organisation will come into your organisation and they'll give you a report, you know, based on this framework about your organisation. So that's just one of the 4 frameworks that I've included there. So they're accepted sort of very holistic frameworks of what is a high performance organisation. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. The other one, there's a framework by Andre Duval. There's the High Performance Organisational, the HBO Centre. They've got a framework. There's Good to Great. Jim Collins has got a framework. And there's one other that, oh, I'm having a brain fade, but there's 4. There's 4 frameworks there. Okay. Now, does anyone want to ask me any more questions about assignment 1 before I talk about, I'm going to talk a little bit more about assignment 1 because that's coming up most quickly. I'll just overview assignment 2 briefly, and then I'll come back to assignment 1 because that's due in a month and you might, you know, wanting to start to think about that. So the second assignment is that having looked at, you know, all the models and theories and arguments about high performance organisation, you're going to look at your organisation and you describe and analyse the performance culture in your workplace using some of the theories and models presented in the unit. Identify the key issues and outline a strategy to address these issues. And then you look at your own contribution to the performance culture of the organisation. So yeah, I'll just, because you've offered it up, Ben, I'll use you as an example again. So Ben has said that from a casual observation, I suppose, of the organisation, he doesn't see too many elements of a performance culture. So first of all, having done the first assignment, you'll be a little bit more, you'll have a sharper view about what the literature says is a high performance organisation. You know, you'll have some ideas about the kind of practices and, you know, definitions of a high performance organisation. And then you'll be able to look at that through that lens. You'll look at your organisation a little bit more critically and say, for example, well, we seem to do, we might do coaching really well in our organisation, but overall there doesn't seem to be a strong emphasis on performance. We don't drive performance. We don't measure individual performance very intentionally. There doesn't seem to be much of a focus, right? So you might pick, you know, 2 or 3 high performance practices and see to what extent your organisation intentionally builds those kind of practices and how well they do, and identify a few issues for the intention of your organisation. So you almost have to think like you're doing a little consultancy for your organisation. So if they were having bringing in a consultant to highlight a few issues for them about their performance culture, what would they say? What would they notice? And what recommendations would they give to your organisation about building a culture of performance? Yep. And then importantly, that last sentence, you reflect on your own leadership. So to what extent, what aspects of your performance lead to a high performance culture, and what could you personally improve about your leadership style that would build in your organisation a culture of high performance? Yeah, just going to pause there in case anyone wants to ask me any questions.
No, it's pretty straightforward.
Oh, good. All right, I'm pleased about that. All right, because I think the simpler the question, the more able you are to go into depth, really, in a way. Gives you more scope to produce a really thoughtful response. Yep. Okay. Just keeping my eye on the time. So assignment structure, probably this is very simple. This slide will be way too simple for many of you. But just as a reminder, when you have a 1,500 word count, often it's good to have an introduction of about 10%, in this case about 150 words, your discussion section, and then a conclusion section, which might be 150, 10%, or maybe a little less. Yeah, sometimes the conclusion can be shorter. So it would be for the literature review, in your introduction, you're going to maybe define a few of your terms. You're going to tell the reader what they're going to be listening. And importantly, you're going to take a position. So it could be, I'm going to argue in this paper that the frameworks of organisational high performance don't really remain relevant in the 21st century organisations for these reasons. Or I could say I'm going to argue that on balance they remain valid, but there's a few aspects of the models that should be retired. They're dated. Yeah. And then in your discussion, 1,200 words, possibly maybe 4 or 5 paragraphs, about 300, 400 words each. And each paragraph should support that argument in some way, be stepping through some of your important points and arguments, yeah, about the argument that you put forward in the introduction. And then in the conclusion, you're summarising the argument and might be making a few final sort of high-level observations. Yeah. All good? Great. I hope that's just thinking, yep, I can do this, and not, oh God, I'm completely baffled. All right. That's pretty straightforward, I think. Now, oh, that wouldn't be my last slide. Yeah. Okay, it's asked you, the word critical comes up in your first assignment. What does critical actually mean? For those who need a little help with this comes from SiteRight, which is obviously a resource that's important. It will be on your Engage site, pretty sure. If not, you just Google QUT SiteRight. So yes, make it your friend. To be critical in an academic context, it doesn't mean you're being negative about something. It means you're considering it and examining it from a number of different perspectives. So some say this, others say that. I tend to think this myself. Yeah, that kind of thing. And evaluate how good the information or the idea is in terms of its purpose. So, you may well want to take Jim Collins's idea about, the great organisation, the great enterprise, he calls it, and say, well, some of these ideas are quite suitable for the US context. They're not really as useful in the Australian context for these reasons, That's a critical view. It's looking at it from a number of different perspectives, finding the strengths, finding the weaknesses. So critical analysis includes some positive, as well as some negative points. Yeah. Yep. And this model again is from SiteRight. Considering strengths and weaknesses, you're evaluating evidence. It works in this context, doesn't work in this context. There seems the support for the idea about having performance reviews seems to be, draining away at the moment, that kind of thing. Consider alternatives, like the first assignment where, you know, you could take the positive view, you could take the negative view, and then importantly, relate some of these ideas to your own organisation. That's really quite important. We are a university of the real world, so we're not just here to look at ideas and theories in the abstract. We're here to apply them to what we do. Yeah, Site Right, we say this to all students. Make sure you keep it close. Have a look at how they talk a lot about both citing, which is referencing, and writing, obviously. So how do you structure an assignment, you know, all those kind of things. I think it's a great resource. We can use it. Now, here's a little activity you could undertake in the next week or so. If you're still unsure about referencing, there's a bit of a link there to Site Right. Just remind yourself, you know, if it's been a while since you did your last assignment, even if you're on the grad cert track, if you get some comments back about your referencing, just, you know, remind yourself. It's not that hard. And I don't go to town on you, you know, if you get reference, if you've made a really good attempt at referencing and you got a couple of things wrong, that's neither here nor there. If you look like you haven't made a good attempt at getting the referencing right, then that's, you know, it goes to your professional communication 10 points. Yeah. Yeah. Now, that's over to you. How can I help? This would be, we don't meet again until the week before your first assignment. Obviously, this is not your only chance to ask a question. I will be available to answer, but I've set, you know, a learning path for you. All I will suggest, have a look at each of the narrative PowerPoints, have a look at the topics, have a look at the recommended readings. Think about just dot pointing, you know, your first assignment. Maybe that could be something you could do even this week, just a rough, you know, brainstorm dot point of how you might do your assignment. Because, you know, with the human brain, just starting is the hardest thing. You know, so I always just try to find something really easy to do to start a task. And often that's just throwing down a few dot points on a page, and then maybe playing around with them, moving those ideas around, thinking more, you know, and going down to the next level with some of those ideas. But reading will help. Reading will help doing that. Okay, can I help with anything else? Anyone got any questions?
I was having a play on the website yesterday, and I haven't looked again today, but I think it was the third topic.
Yeah,
there were two
frameworks,
readings.
I think. Yeah.
There were two readings. The second one, when I tried to open it, opened the same as the one above it. I think
Okay.
it was, the link was the same.
All right, Karen's will be, she says she hasn't got a mic link at the moment, Karen Rustis, but I know she's on the Zoom session, so she'd be writing that down as you speak. All right, to check that, yeah. But thanks for that. If you find anything else on the site that, you know, doesn't open, links don't work or whatever, just shoot that through. We'll fix it as soon as we possibly can. Other than that, you're all good.
Pretty good.
Okay, what's the emotion? Yeah. Feel confident?
I'm excited.
Okay.
So close to the end, Kelly.
You're excited. As soon as I get into this, yeah, do my 2 assignments, then it'll be time to celebrate. Yeah, it will be too. That's a big achievement. Yeah, it's a big achievement. Well done. Okay, so I'll just do stop share. I'll get back into mode. I'm here, as you can see, in my home office. I should have gone into the office because of the air conditioning in there. It's steaming hot in my study, so I've probably got sweat all over my face. But I tried to stay home to do some marking today, but I've just been blindsided by other requests for things. So, but it's great to talk to somebody. Otherwise, you don't talk to anyone all day. Which is the whole point about working at home, is so that you're not talking to anybody and you actually can do some work. Yeah. Okay, guys. Look, I'm so glad that you all came in to the Zoom. As I've said, I think it's really important. So please shoot through any questions that you have. Otherwise, I'll see you in a couple of weeks' time, just before the first assignment is due. So this is our first offering of the award component for Leading for High Performance. So it completes our whole suite, actually. So we have some new offerings too in the ELP suite. So if you haven't looked at what's on offer since last year, we've got some new things. So it's quite exciting. Karen and I are going to have a great year, I think. Okay, guys, thanks for coming in, and I'll see you in a couple of weeks' time.
Thanks very much, Kate.